Hello, I hope you're doing well. This is going to be more of a casual and chatty video on my channel. I wanted to take some time to discuss making mistakes in your planner, how you can fix your mistakes, and just the general mindset of starting a new planner or journal, especially with 2024 creeping up in, at the time of my recording, 9 days. Without trying to sound like snobbish or anything, in a lot of my YouTube videos, Instagram photos, and TikTok comments, I get a lot of remarks, things like, oh, I want to do this so badly, but I know I'll never be able to make it look perfect, or how are your spreads so perfect? How do you never make smudges? You have such neat handwriting, stuff like that. I promise these are all comments that I've gotten, and I'm not trying to praise myself. In fact, it's the opposite. I used to struggle with this all or nothing mentality before as well, and I still do now. So the all or nothing mentality here would be like, I have to make every spread look perfect, and if I mess up a single day, then what is the point in continuing this planner? And I actually made this mistake with my first Hobonichi cousin as well. I think I used it consistently for 2 weeks, and then due to maybe being busy with school or something, I had to miss a day. And then after that, it was just downhill. Since I already missed a day, I was like, my planner is now ruined and I'm just gonna ditch it. So I think similar to a lot of other things in life, it is quite beneficial to try to get yourself out of the all or nothing mentality and just go with the flow of things. The next point that I want to make is that I make a lot of mistakes in my spreads. And I think the fact that there are people out there who take a look at my planner and think it is perfect just goes to show that a lot of the mistakes that you make, only you will notice, and only you will obsess about, and only you will care about. Nobody else is going to care. They're going to look at your planner and think it is a wonderful thing. So I hope that that is another perspective that can kind of help you be more okay with making mistakes. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is addressing the remark that my handwriting is perfect, which it is absolutely not. I am going to flip to, for example, actually January 1st. There we go. So this is my spread for January 1st, 2023. And I have to say, okay, first of all, you can see a mistake right there. But anyways, I would say my handwriting looks very neat here. And this is because it was January 1st. I was very motivated, like many people, and I just wanted my spread to look perfect. So I would say my handwriting is very neat here. Now let me flip to just like a recent spread. I mean, I wouldn't say my writing is like ugly or messy or anything, but I think you can definitely see a difference in how neat it is compared to January 1st. So keep this image in mind, and then let me flip back to January 1st. It's a lot more consistent, a lot neater, and then I have this. And it honestly really depends on the week that I'm having. Like if I'm really stressed, really rushing to write down my to-do list so I can get on with work, it's gonna be a lot messier. But if I have more time, I'm having like a self-care journaling session, then I'm going to be a lot neater with my writing. And I think that's also a wonderful thing, because as you flip through the planner, you're going to see like which weeks are more stressful and which weeks I seem to be a lot calmer. So now I will quickly talk about what I do when I make mistakes. My first strategy is very simple. I leave the mistake as is and I move on. That's it. Here is an example of making a mistake, but I just didn't bother covering it up at all. I just moved on. The second tool in my toolbox is using whiteout, which to be honest, I can count on one hand how many times I've used whiteout. I just don't really use it. But if you feel better about using whiteout, that is definitely an option. I did want to quickly recommend a product, especially if you're using a planner like the Hobonichis or the Leuchtturm planners, where the pages are more cream colored rather than bright white. I definitely recommend a whiteout like this one. This is called cream tape. Essentially, it's a whiteout, but the tape itself is cream colored to better blend in with the page of your notebook. So I will give a quick demo. This is a bright white regular envelope, and then this is a cream colored tape. You can see that it is, you know, popping off because the colors are different. But then if I use this in my Hobonichi, let's just pick a spot. Whoops, it's not focused. But that's where I did the whiteout. You can barely see it. And it's because, again, the tape color is better matched for the cream colored page. So if you're someone who prefers using whiteout, I would definitely recommend this this product. It is again called cream tape. I'm personally not a big fan of whiteout just because, I don't know, I feel like even if it blends in, it kind of breaks up the flow of things. So I just prefer other methods of remedying. Okay, my third strategy is sticky notes. This is actually not a good example. Oh, the most iconic example for me is definitely this one. If you have watched some of my other videos, you definitely know about this. But yeah, I basically drew this emoji. One eye was bigger than the other, so I kept trying to even it out, and then it just got too big, and now this emoji looks like a serial killer. So I covered it up with a sticky note and I redrew it. And this is also one of those cases where whiteout doesn't really help with this. So I love using sticky notes to remedy situations like this. You can obviously see there's a sticky note there, but I feel like it doesn't really scream like, oh, she made a mistake, if you know what I mean. Here is another example in my bullet journal. You can see this just looks like a random doodle that I made, and I think it looks pretty cool, but it was actually just because I was fixing this calendar that I messed up. So yeah, sticky notes are a great tool. I will say not every time you see a sticky note in my spread means I made a mistake. I do often just like incorporate sticky notes because they're cool. Just to prove it to you guys, for example, there's a sticky note here, but I wasn't using it to cover anything up. The next thing I do, especially when I'm just writing paragraphs, is if I make a spelling error or if I just like malfunction and I miswrite something, I just simply cross it off. Let me show you examples. Look at that and look at that. Twice within the same paragraph, but if I zoom out and I just like quickly do a flip through, you're not gonna notice. Nobody notices. Here I misspelled grocery, so I crossed it off. Crossing another thing off. I started writing Sunday when I meant to write Saturday. I was gonna write good morning, but it was actually noontime. Here I don't know what I was writing there, but I think you guys get the idea. Like I make a lot of mistakes in my writing and I just cross it off and move on. I don't bother with whiteout. And again, nobody really notices. Or maybe people do notice, but nobody cares. Another thing that I like to do often is I kind of highlight mistakes and I make fun of myself. I mean, obviously there's a certain limit, but I find that if you kind of, poke fun at yourself and not take things too seriously, things are just not that big of a deal. So for example, here, I spilled some water. You can't even tell anymore, but I spilled some water and I looked at the watermark and I outlined it with a marker and I drew a cute little face. 5 years ago, I would have had a breakdown that I spilled water on my planner. Here's some more examples. I spilled more water. That tends to be a theme here. I spilled more water on my spread, and this time it was multiple splotches. So I doodled a bunch of these like wiggly characters. Another strategy is masking and integrating the mistake or imperfection into your spread. This is my favorite example. So I treated myself to an avocado toast with fruit at this like local diner, and I was actually journaling while I was at the diner, and I smudged avocado on this page. I can actually still feel some of the texture, and this is probably really gross, but I took my Tombow dual brush pen marker and I just brushed it over it. I don't think I was planning on doodling my avocado toast here, but since I already, you know, had the actual avocado smudged on the page, I thought might as well. And this is also why the fried egg is so small relative to the toast. It's just because of the issue with the avocado, and I had to like do a big chunk of green to mask it off. But yeah, that is the story there. Another example, this was one of actually my favorite doodles that I've done in the spread. I think this is so beautiful. But I believe I doodled all of these daisies because I was like drawing the line, this like box, and then I accidentally slipped and it became crooked. So I doodled a bunch of daisies and leaves and all of that to mask the imperfection. And I honestly cannot even remember where the imperfection was. I just remember that I made a mistake here. Okay, when did this tab fall off? It ripped out part of the page as well. See, imperfection. The last thing that I wanted to touch on are empty pages. Now, I will say I was able to, I believe, fill out every single page up until today. So I haven't really skipped a page. It's just a habit for me at this point, and even if I did have to skip a page, who cares? As for me so far, I have been able to fill every page. However, that does not mean every page is like a fully written, full of doodles and decorations, perfect page. And I just wanted to, again, quickly show you some empty pages. I also sometimes forget to check off my to-do list. That's totally fine. Lots of empty space here. I didn't even bother making a to-do list here. Typically I box off my writing, but I guess I forgot. I will say, like, having a to-do list really helps me with staying on track and getting things done. But there are times where having a to-do list actually hinders my day. Those days are rare, but if it happens, then I'm not gonna force myself to write a to-do list. What I do like to do is write down a list of things that I've done. So this was actually very recently. This was yesterday. I was so tired. I was just not in the mood. I still got a lot of things done, but I just didn't want to write down a to-do list. So what I did was, at the end of the day, I wrote bullet points of all of the things that I was able to accomplish, and it just made me feel very satisfied. So that is an idea that you might want to take. Just put in your toolbox. These 2 days were a little bit tragic. No to-do list, very little writing. By contrast, you can see I do have days where I just cannot seem to shut up. This is another day where I was, I guess, really struggling. I wrote, I ate, I slept, I worked, and that's basically all I did. For me personally, I guess I consider myself an artist, so doodling is actually a lot easier than writing. So if you find yourself similar to me, maybe if you are not in the mood to write a lot, you can even just like doodle your day, and it takes up a lot more space. And if you are not someone who are comfortable with doodling, you can even use stickers just to, you know, put something down for the day. You don't necessarily have to write. So anyways, I think this video has gone on for quite a while, and you probably get the idea that I make a lot of mistakes. Not all of my spreads are very satisfying to look at, but I'm happy to show you guys because I think it's all part of the charm of having a journal, and I hope that the idea of having to have a perfect planner or journal doesn't discourage you from starting one, because it is so worth it. Anyways, tomorrow I'm actually going to be uploading a video for Christmas, so I do hope you stay tuned. And if you have any of your own tips or if you have any questions, feel free to comment them down below. But otherwise, I will see you tomorrow. Thank you for watching and bye.